Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Last week we had completed the entire chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. So today, in today's class, we shall see the summary of chapter 3. Chapter 3, Karma Yoga, is a very, very important chapter in the entire Bhagavad Gita, especially to most of us, because we are all like Arjuna, men of action, women of action in this world. We are all very much grahasthas, functioning in the world. So we are not sannyasis. Even for sannyasi, some karma is there. It's not that sannyasi is absolutely free from karma. But you can say sannyasa ashrama is karma, sannyasa ashrama is jnana pradhana ashrama, whereas grahastha ashrama is karma pradhana ashrama. And there is a misconception that Bhagavad Gita will make us renounce the world, will make us stop functioning in the world, develop kind of a vijigupsa to the world. Vijigupsa means kind of a hatred, rejection. Nothing is there in this world, just leave everything. That sort of an attitude is what we think Bhagavad Gita will give. But here, when Arjuna was dejected in the first chapter and he wanted to leave the battle, Sri Krishna revived him by giving the Bhagavad Gita after he surrendered. And in the second chapter also, he spoke about Karma Yoga. And in the third chapter, the whole chapter is dedicated for Karma Yoga. It talks about the complete science of action. It has 43 shlokas. And these 43 shlokas are divided into 6 topics by Swamiji. Now these topics are not in the original Gita given by Sage Vyasa. Sage Vyasa, what he did is, the conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna was brought out in 18 chapters by Sri Krishna. And then further these chapters were divided into topics by gurus like our Swamiji. So in this chapter, he's divided this chapter into 6 topics. The first topic is shloka number 1 to 3, introducing the path of action. And then from 4 to 9, an intellectual appeal for action. After introducing the action in the first 3 shlokas, Sri Krishna appeals to Arjuna and to all of us through Arjuna to understand the value of action and do the action with the right attitude in the spirit of Karma Yoga. And if intellectual appeal didn't work, then he gives an emotional appeal. He gives 6 emotional appeals for action. That is discussed from verse number 20 to 24. The topic is emotional appeals for action. Then from 25 to 35, he discusses the technique of right action. And then in the following shlokas, especially 36 to 39, it starts with Arjuna's question about why, in spite of knowing that one should do action in this way, people do not follow it. What is the reason? What is the impediment? That is this question in short for action. So the impediments to right action is discussed from 36 to 39. And then how to overcome those impediments. Way to overcome the impediments is discussed from 40 to 43. So this chapter starts with Arjuna's question. First two shlokas, Arjuna asks a question. Jayasi chet karmanaste mata buddhir janardana tat kim karmani goreya niyojayasi keshava yamishrene vakyena buddhim mohayasi vame tadekam vadanishchitya ena shreyoham apnuya. Based on what Sri Krishna spoke in the second chapter and how Arjuna understood it, Arjuna is asking this question. See, Sri Krishna spoke correctly only. But Arjuna is disturbed. The entire first chapter, the first chapter is called as Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the yoga of Arjuna's despondency. He was completely disturbed. And luckily, he surrendered to Sri Krishna in the second chapter and became a disciple. Then only Sri Krishna gave the knowledge. And when he gave the Bhagavad Gita, first he praises Jnanam, praises Jnani. Verse number 11, chapter 2 is where technically the Gita begins. Sri Krishna starts speaking the Bhagavad Gita. He talked about the wise people there. He said the wise people neither grieve for those who are dead and gone, nor for those who are living. Wise people do not grieve. And why they do not grieve? Because they have the knowledge, the viveka, the clarity about Atma and Anatma. And therefore, they don't grieve, they are not affected by the happenings of the world, and they go about functioning properly in the world. He praised the Jnani and Jnanam. Then he built the thoughts, and in between he even brought in Karma Yoga from shloka number 45 to 53 in previous chapter, that is chapter number 2. And then again Arjuna asks to talk about a Jnani, Sthita Prajna. Therefore from 55 till 72, Sri Krishna again praised Jnanam. So based on that, Arjuna is asking now, you seem to be praising Jnanam, knowledge, vis-a-vis action. It seems knowledge is superior to action. If you consider knowledge superior to action, why are you forcing me to do action? That too, this terrible action of having to kill my guru, great-grandfather, who are noble people. So, if you think knowledge is superior, why are you forcing me to do action? This is his question. Krishna already explained there. He is not just praising knowledge. Of course, for samsara nivritti, to get rid of ignorance, the solution is knowledge. But that knowledge is going to make a dent or effect only in a person who's qualified, who's pure, who's mature. So, one with all the mental diseases like kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, bhaya, that person with lot of desires and its modifications will not be able to gain the knowledge. Maximum, the person can gain only information. And undigested information will cause intellectual diarrhea. It's not going to bring about transformation. So therefore, you have to follow action and attain chitta shuddhi and then get onto knowledge. That's what he said. But Arjuna didn't understand properly. Therefore, he is thinking Sri Krishna is praising knowledge vis-a-vis action. So, he is asking, if you think knowledge is superior, why are you forcing me to do action? Then Sri Krishna says in verse number 3, Lokesmin divida nishta pra prokta mayanaga Jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yogina. What he's saying is, for an extroverted person, action is the means. For an introverted person, knowledge is the means. In the sense, in the beginning, everyone will have a lot of desires. So you have to offload the bulk of your desires. Become relatively purified and mature. Understand that the pursuit of the material world is not an end in itself. How much ever material world is acquired by us is not going to solve the problem of samsara. It's not going to solve the problem of this imagination caused samsara. The imagination is that I am this finite individual, which is brought about by ignorance of my true nature, which is infinite. So therefore, only by gaining knowledge can we get rid of this samsara. But like I said, to gain the knowledge, you need purification, which is brought about by karma yoga, which will reduce the bulk of your desires. So therefore, action is a must. And he even goes to say in verse number 6 that if you don't do action through organs of action and mentally keep thinking of the world, you will only turn into an hypocrite. See, we already have impressions in our mind, and as we are contacting the world, we create more and more impressions. And these impressions in the mind, called vasanas, bind us to the world. This is the cause of samsara. So the new impressions should not happen. At the same time, the existing impressions should be given direction and exhaustion. So the technique that you should be using while doing the action, which will bring in this result of not creating new impressions, at the same time exhaust the existing impressions, is called karma yoga. That's why in the previous chapter, in verse number 50, where briefly Sri Krishna was talking about karma yoga from 45 to 53, in 50th shloka he says, yoga karmasu kaushalam. When you do an action which exhausts the existing vasanas and does not create fresh vasanas, that's called karma yoga. That is called skill in action. Skill in action does not mean somebody burgles the bank very brilliantly. Somebody cheats people brilliantly. Doesn't mean they are karma yogis. Skill in action means you are exhausting the existing vasanas, and you are also not creating fresh vasanas. And that is only possible through karma yoga. Otherwise, you will be creating more vasanas inside, and externally you will be behaving as if you are a sannyasi because you are not acting. And nobody can remain without action because everybody has vasanas. Therefore, you must engage yourself in karma yoga. This is what he says. So, in this portion from after third shloka, where he said for extroverted people, action, for introverted people, knowledge. What he's trying to say there is, you have no choice between action and knowledge. You have to choose both. You have to act also, you have to gain knowledge also. But in the beginning, when you have too many desires, you have to be in karma pradhana ashrama called grahastha ashrama. Then when you drop the bulk of the desires, you will move to the next ashrama, called the next lifestyle, called sannyasa ashrama, where it is jnana pradhana ashrama. In karma pradhana ashrama, lot of karma done as yoga, less of knowledge. In the sannyasa ashrama, lot of knowledge, less of action. But action will be there. Nobody can remain inactive. If you remain inactive, you will be finished. Action is the insignia of life. Inaction is death. None can remain without action. Therefore, we have to continue acting. But then he says, you must understand the formula of Advaita Vedanta is God plus vasanas or desires equals human beings. Beings minus vasanas equals God. So the whole life's purpose is to reduce the vasanas. So we have to reduce the vasanas through Karma Yoga and come to little vasanas to realize the self, and that will be removed through knowledge. So therefore, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga are only involved in eradicating vasanas. That's it. So you can be in different lifestyles, but in both lifestyles, both have to be followed. And then he says, what is Karma Yoga? Karma Yoga is nothing but sattvic action. Action, he splits them into three: sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. Sattvic action is, he says, eating the remnants of sacrifice, doing the action as a worship, doing the action as yajna. From the time we are born, we have been constantly taking. Everything is provided to us. So we have now an obligation to pay back to the society, pay back to the world, pay back to the nature, which will maintain the ecological balance, dharma, and we should have this gratitude with which we need to offer our action for the welfare of the world. And world is nothing but the expression of Ishvara. Therefore, do action as Ishvararpana, with Ishvararpana buddhi. You understand? And when you do it with Ishvararpana buddhi, it is a dedicated action for one and all, not just for yourself. Doing action just for yourself is rajasic. And eating the fruits of somebody else's labor is tamasic. He says, rajasic people cook, but they eat sin. Tamasic people, they are compared to thieves. The other people work, and whatever they have achieved through their actions, these fellows steal. Meaning they eat without producing, without contributing. So Rajasic people are selfish. Tamasic people are destructive. Sattvic people are unselfish and selfless. That selfless, unselfish or selfless action qualifies as Karma Yoga. And when you do the action, have the attitude of spoke in the wheel of life. Everybody has different natures. You have a particular nature. All of us will have to supplement and complement each other. Thus, the ecology will be balanced, maintained. So, when you do action, you should do it with gratitude, with the attitude of giving, with an attitude of paying back. And when you do such actions, whatever may be the result, accept that as prasad, eat the remnants of sacrifice. So, Karma Yoga involves two attitudes, Ishvararpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi. While doing the action, have the attitude of dedicating it to the Lord, to the world, to the welfare of the world. And whatever comes, it can be good, bad, ugly, whatever. Because the results depends on so many factors. This he already discussed in the previous chapter, verse 47. Karmani eva adhikaraha ma phaleshu kadachana in that shloka, verse 47. Ma karma phala heturboho ma te sangostva karmani. Where he said you have right only with reference to action, never to the result. At any given point in time, you can only choose the action. The result will depend upon your action and so many other factors. So therefore, while doing the action, don't be attached to the action and its results. And don't fall into inaction, tamas also. Even though you may do the action correctly, due to so many other factors, the results may not come as you expected. It may be a failure. So in both success and failure, even if it's successful or failure, you maintain balance. Accept it as prasad. This is what he said. This is called karma yoga. Thus, when you exhaust the bulk of your vasanas, your mind will turn introvert. You will understand that the material world, how much ever is gained, is not going to give me that security. It is impossible to find security by adding finite into my life. How much ever finite things I add to already existing finite things in my life, it will only remain finite. Therefore, my priorities will change. When my priorities will change, I will pursue moksha as my goal, as my main priority. Till then, artha, kama, dharma will be my goal. In fact, gross people, artha and kama. Little developed, dharma. This is what we will be constantly lost in. So therefore, through maturity, we understand that these are only means and they are not end. We don't delude ourselves to believe that the means as the end. As long as we believe the means to be the end, we have to continue following karma yoga. When we understand that they are only means and not an end in itself, we qualify to gain knowledge. It's not like black and white. To the extent you understand, to that extent you can pursue knowledge. It's not absolutely black and white. Till now, I follow this, then I follow that. So therefore, he said, this, what I'm discussing now is from verse 4 to 19, where he gives the value of action. Appeals intellectually. Therefore, do it for the welfare of the world. If this intellectual appeal didn't satisfy you, then let me come through the emotional route also, he says. And then, in the portion from verse 20 to 24, he appeals emotionally to Arjuna. Now, when a person is not reacting to logic or reason, then you have to understand that the person is either highly rajasic or tamasic. The sattvic people react to logic and reason. So, for a tamasic person, threat and fear works. For a rajasic person, flattery, emotions works. So he appeals to Arjuna devotionally. He has a lot of respect and regards for people like King Janaka. So he says, follow the example of King Janaka. Man. He appeals to Arjuna's devotion. And then he tells Arjuna, he is persuading Arjuna. He uses the technique of persuasion. He says, you may not be interested in the war. You know, you have seen so many battles, you have won so many awards. But at least for the welfare of the world, you should be doing this. In fact, many times what happens when you constantly keep winning championship, you know, you may say, Arey yaar, I have won this 7 times, I have won this 10 times. It's boring. And you may want to withdraw. But every time you win, representing your country, your nation, you're making the entire nation proud. It's inspiring a lot of people. You understand? So he says, even though you may not be interested from the personal point of view, think about the welfare of the world. So he's using persuasion as a technique. And then he's appealing to Arjuna's vanity. Hey Arjuna, you are a leader, man. A leader is constantly watched. What you say doesn't matter. What you do matters. Yadyad acharati shreshtaha tattat eva itara janaha sayat pramanam kurute loka tat anuvartate. Whatever the leader does, the world will do. The followers will do. You are the leader. You must set the standard. So he is appealing to Arjuna's vanity. People look up to you. Don't let them down. So he is appealing to Arjuna's vanity. All this is Rajasic. And then Arjuna is also emotionally connected to Sri Krishna. He is a very close friend. So he says, in this three world, I have nothing to achieve. I am a jnani. See, once a person has exhausted all the vasanas and has reached the goal of spirituality, which is moksha, completely liberated. In the equation, what did we see? Human beings minus vasanas equals God. So they've become God. Become God means they've realized their original nature. They've realized that they are infinite and not finite. There is no imaginary sense of limitation in them. They are feeling complete, paripurnatvam. Therefore, there is no desire to do or not to do. So there is no compulsion for them to act. He says, therefore, as a jnani, I have nothing to do. Yet I engage myself in action. Why? If I don't engage myself in action, then the whole world will follow my example. It is a big danger. So devotional appeal, and then persuasion, appeals to vanity, then personal appeal. All this at the Rajasic level. Then at the Tamasic level, he says, Arjuna, if you don't act, you withdraw. These will be the consequence. Fear. You will gain a lot of papa. Be careful. Arjuna was already concerned about papa. In the beginning, he was saying, by doing this action, I'll be committing papa. So Sri Krishna is now telling, if you don't do this action, you will be committing papa. Why are you not doing this action? Because you have a selfish angle to it. How can I kill my guru, my great-grandfather? You're not looking at it from the total angle. A jnani, though he has nothing to do, looks at it from the total angle and does. And therefore, the real way of functioning is to look at it from the total angle and do what you have to do. Rather than looking at it from selfish angle and withdrawing, which will cause papa. So he's instilling fear in Arjuna. To the tamas in Arjuna, in all of us. Then he's using threat. If you do not act, then the entire world, everybody will withdraw. When people and the world would stop acting, inaction is death. Everyone will be annihilated. Wrong precedents will be set. And there will be collapse of dharma. You've been arguing about avoiding papa and establishing dharma. The way to establish dharma and avoid papa is by doing this obligatory duty in the spirit of yajna. This is what he said. Till 24. So first the importance of action, Then he explains, logically as to why you should do the action and how you should do it satvikally, that is karma yoga. And then he appeals to Arjuna emotionally, and then he goes into the actual explanation of karma yoga in detail in the shloka number 30, which is called the blueprint of right action, technique of right action. But before that, few shlokas he spends to compare the ignorant and the wise. He says, externally, when you look at people who are wise and ignorant, you cannot make out, because both will be engaged in action. But internally there is a difference. What's the difference? Ignorant people will be attached to action. They will be doing action propelled by desires, and they will be doing actions with the attitude of I am the doer. And they'll be craving for the results, attached to the results. And if the result is not there in their favor, they'll be affected. If the result is according to what they expected, they'll be excited. They won't be balanced. So externally, both of them are acting, ignorant and the wise. But internally, this will be the situation in the ignorant person. How about the wise person? Wise person will be completely opposite. He will be doing action without attachment, as just a spoke in the wheel of life, with no personal interest whatsoever. Because success is not going to add to his infinite stature, nor failure is going to reduce his infinite stature. He has achieved perfection. He has achieved balance, completeness, limitlessness is realized by that person. So therefore, the outcome of the action is not going to change that inside achievement. So externally, he goes about doing what is right in the context with reference to his nature for the welfare of the world with zero attachment. So his actions are not propelled by desire. His actions are propelled by love, with selflessness. You understand? And then, while doing, he doesn't have the attitude of doership. He has the Sakshi Bhav. Witnessing, as a witness, he performs the action. And he's not craving for the result, because he didn't do it for the result's sake. And whatever may be the result, good, bad, ugly, success, failure, doesn't affect him. He remains balanced. And he understands that ignorant people will function like this. They don't have the knowledge, therefore it does not unsettle them. Rather, what does he do? He lives the knowledge and inspires them by setting the standard. Draws them to right action by putting himself in that fire of right action. Doing the front, he will be performing the right action, sacrificial actions, selfless action, sattvic action, karma yoga. That's how a jnani will function. And then, having given all this, in verse number 30, he gives the technique of right action. Very important shloka. You can say the gist of this chapter. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Adhyatma chetasa. Intellect must pitch a higher goal. Highest being self-realization. If you cannot conceive self-realization as your goal right now, you can say that that's my ultimate goal, but right now my goal is self-development, self-purification, chitta shuddhi. and pitch up that as your goal. Something beyond your selfish, self-centered interest as your goal. And that goal is set by your buddhi, intellect. And once the intellect has set the goal, mind must surrender to that goal. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya. Let all your actions be dedicated for that goal, not given to your mind's likes and dislikes. Whether or not you like it or dislike it, if it is something that is to be done for the achievement of that goal, you should do it. Keep aside your personal interests. You should go and do the right action. Not go by the mind, go by the buddhi. Having set the goal, mind should surrender to that goal. Right? So when the mind surrenders means what? Ishwararpana buddhi you have. You are dedicating the action for that goal, for that Atma ultimately. Either you do it step by step or directly. If you are in that level, directly, otherwise step by step. But end of the day, it is for the goal of self-realization, for the welfare of the world, for the Ishvara. It's called Ishwararpana buddhi. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya. And then Nirashi. Now, before going to Nirashi and Nirmama, he said Yudyasva Vigata Jwaraha. So fight. Yudyasva means fight. Fight means do your duty. In the context, it's on the battlefield. So there the duty is to fight and establish dharma. Otherwise, whatever is your duty, do that. The intellect pitches of the goal, mind must surrender to the goal, and body must act towards that goal dynamically. While acting, you should not be anxious of the future, nirashi, without anxiety for the future. Means what? Whatever comes as a prasad. Because as per karma, the Lord Ishvara distributes the results. Isn't it? We have no idea about our karma, what has been done in the past. So therefore, there can be no mistake from the angle of Ishvara. Everyone gets what they deserve, not what they desire. If this is clear, then you will understand that the fruit will be given to us by the Ishvara according to our karma. So whatever comes, I am ready to accept. No anxiety for the future. Nirmamaha. No worries of the past. No ego. No doership attitude. I am doing. No worries of the past. Ego comes from the past. Memories of the past. So when you don't identify with the past, then you are functioning with humility. You understand? You are doing it as a part of the total. I am doing, I am everything. No focus on I. The greater the focus on I, the lesser the focus on action. So nirmamaha and yudyasva vigata jwaraha. Without excitement, without that mental fever, without that feverish doing, I'm doing, excitement. See, we must understand that world is going on not because of us, it's in spite of us, through us. Through all these spokes, each one of us are the spokes. Through all these spokes, the prapancha is going on brilliantly. The prakriti is manifesting with Purusha being a witness and enlivening it. Now, once I understand this, then I will not have this unnecessary excitement, feverish doing. So that stress and strain will not be there in such activity when you do it as karma yoga. That's what he's saying. Intellect pitches of the goal, mind surrenders to the goal, and body acts in that direction towards the goal dynamically. And this kind of action builds energy. The greater the goal, the greater the energy. And when your intellect controls your mind from the future anxiety and past worries and present excitement, you will be concentrating, doing it consistently with cooperation, and therefore your action most likely will be successful. Even otherwise, you will be balanced and you learn from it, you correct the course and you will march towards success. So Karma Yoga helps in both ways. It helps you to achieve the material goals and see the relativity of the material goals, understand that they are means and not an end, and help you evolve and achieve the spiritual goal as well. Qualify you for jnanam and help you evolve spiritually. So Karma Yoga helps you to achieve success in the material world and grow spiritually as well. That's why it becomes extremely important for us to follow Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga, we said sattvic action, selfless action, it includes everybody. So you may think that, we might have to do something phenomenal, like going and digging a well for the village, or going and fighting for the nation in the army and sacrificing my life. Well, if you can do all that, fine. If that's your nature, fine. Otherwise, even if you're sweeping the floor at home, you can do it in the spirit of Karma Yoga. Whatever you are doing, you don't have to change it. Just have to make sure it's as per your nature. And then do it in the spirit of Karma Yoga. This understanding has to be there. And he says, if you follow Karma Yoga, this is the benefit. You will evolve spiritually and materially. Otherwise, you will be doomed. You may get some things in the physical world when you do action as karma, not as Karma Yoga, with no dedication and prasada buddhi. When you do, you may succeed. But you will be very disturbed. You will be gathering more and more vasanas. You won't be evolving spiritually. And you won't be enjoying what you gathered also in the material world. Therefore, you will be doomed, he says. So, therefore, understand that this is Ishvara Ajna. This is a law. This is a commandment of the Lord. You better follow. None can break the law. One can only break oneself against the law. So, in your interest, you better follow the law. If you don't follow the law, you will suffer. And then he says, the likes and dislikes are within you. They are not outside of you. So when you choose the action in the world to dedicate it for the Ishvara, make sure that is in alignment with your Swadharma. Dharma means nature, Swa means one's own nature. Swadharma means one's own nature. Swa means one's own, Dharma means nature, Swadharma means one's own nature. Paradharma means alien nature. Para means alien. Dharma nature, alien nature. So the bulk of your vasanas, the bulk of your bulk of your likes is your Swadharma. In that, you choose, according to that nature, you choose your field of activity. But within the field of activity, don't act on your likes and dislikes. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swanushtita swadharme nidanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavahaha. He says that in 35th shloka. Choosing paradharma is fraught with fear. Even if you do paradharma very well and be successful, you'll be frustrated individual. Even if you do Swadharma and not so successful materially, you will be deeply satisfied and contented and happy. Therefore, choose Swadharma and do it for the welfare of the world. Don't bring in your likes and dislikes while functioning in the Swadharmic field. Do it as Ishwararpana and Prasada Buddhi. Then it is called Karma Yoga. So with this, Sri Krishna finished Karma Yoga chapters, shlokas. But then Arjuna asks a question. He says, even though everybody knows this, many people knows this, what I am supposed to be doing in the context, yet there seems to be something forcing us and makes us do something else other than what we are supposed to be doing. What is that force? He wants to know that. So he is asking, Atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purusha. He is saying, what forced, what compelled does man commit sin? Anishannapi vashneya aladiva niyojitaha. It seems to be a force. O Vashneya, O Krishna. Tell me, what is this force? And Sri Krishna says, Kama esha krodha esha rajo guna samudbhavaha. The reason for this is Kama and Krodha. Krodha means, he is just mentioning Krodha, but he means everything, all the modifications of the desires. Desire and its modifications, they are the impediments. They are your enemies. He uses 4 words, Vairinam, Nitya Vairinam, Paripantinam, Shatru. All means enemies. Our enemy is not outside. Our enemy is within us. In the form of what? Kama, desire. When the desire is interrupted, it becomes anger. When the desire is fulfilled, you crave for more, you are greedy of more. When the desire is fulfilled, you are afraid of losing what you have achieved. So, when you fulfill, there is a modification. When it is obstructed, there is a modification. There are a lot of modifications. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya, arrogance, jealousy, etc. So, all these modifications you can say. They are the impediments. But the root is desire. Desire is the root. That's the problem. And its nature is, how much ever you give, it will consume more and more and more. It is compared with fire. How much ever the fire consumes, it will still crave for more and more and more. Similarly, your mind will crave for more and more. Finite consumption will never make it infinite. You must understand this. How can finite things bring about security while they themselves are passing and fleeting, temporary in nature? So they can only add to your already existing insecurity. See, you are not famous. You think by becoming famous, I'll find that security. Now, after you become famous, you will be going in search of securities. Personal bodyguards, unnecessarily. So, this is how we get caught without understanding. So, the problem is the kama, the desire. Where is it? In our mind, within us, not outside. And therefore, you need to control and direct it. Understand, manage, control, and direct the desires. And this is what Bhagavad Gita teaches. And when you know this, you know how to live life. Therefore, we say Bhagavad Gita is a manual of life. So, here he says the problem is kama, desire, its nature is all consuming, all sinful. It is that which makes you do things what you're not supposed to do, and avoid doing what you're supposed to do. Commit sin basically. Is that which forces you to commit sin? It's the desire. It is coming from Rajo Guna, Rajas. So what do you have to do? How to overcome this? That he discusses from 40 to 43, the last topic, overcoming the impediments to action. And anything that you want to overcome, first you have to objectively analyze the problem and understand. Then only you have to implement. So he says, this desire, already you have likes and dislikes within you. When you see the object, it comes and first corrupts the senses, then the mind, then the intellect. Your buddhi is corrupted. Whatever you studied, whatever you learned goes for a toss and you commit sin. Therefore, how do you handle this desire? When you know that the adhishtanam, seat is senses, mind and intellect. This is where it is sitting. You have sensual desires, you have emotional desires, you have intellectual desires. It comes through this, it's settled there. And sitting there, it touches you. This is its foundation. This is the seat. So what are you going to do about it? First things first. At the sense level, you must follow sense control. Then at the mind level, you must follow mind control. And at the intellect level, you must develop right clarity, discrimination, viveka shakti, to understand that how much ever I add to the finite, it will not become infinite, because as it is, when I am suffering from the problem of finite, I am having insecurity. And adding finite means they themselves are of passing, fleeting nature. How can they bring me security? Because they are also going to go, na? So this viveka should be there. So I make sure that I don't allow the fresh trouble inside by sense control and mind control. And by intellectual clarity, I exhaust or control my existing mental impressions, desires, which are forcing me to do actions to feel complete. So through Dhamma, Shama and Viveka, sense control, mind control and Viveka Shakti, discrimination, I can bring my mind to some amount of control and balance. Then once I have achieved that, with that mind, I should gain the knowledge of the self. I should understand that Atma is the subtlest. Compared to the gross world, 5 elements, and my body, the senses are subtle. Compared to the senses, mind is subtle. Compared to the mind, intellect is subtle. Compared to the intellect, Atma is subtle. There is nothing subtler than the Atma. Atma is the subtlest. Atma is superior to everything. Then I set my goal as Atma, self-realization. I have to achieve, I have to gain Atma Jnanam and establish myself in that Atma Jnanam. That's the solution for the problem of samsara. So, with sense control, mind control and viveka, with that vairagya that I have developed, I must gain the knowledge of the self. To the extent I have developed all these qualities, I can gain the knowledge. So he gives the formula. I said we'll put it in a formula format so that you will not forget if you remember. So what is the formula here? Is giving to deal with this impediment of desire, sadhana or sense control, mind control, viveka and all that, plus knowledge. S plus K. And you should do this according to your capacity, not overdo it. You should do it according to your capacity. And most importantly, you should do this consistently. Consistency is the key. So, without discipline, without sense control and mind control, if you gain knowledge, it won't work. If you only practice sense control and mind control and you don't supplement it with knowledge, it won't work. You practice sense control, mind control, but forget about your capacity, overdo it. You will only do it for a while, then you leave it. It won't work. So you have to take all these three into consideration according to your capacity. Sense control, mind control, basically self-control. Self-control plus knowledge. Together, when it is followed, these two disciplines, then according to your capacity, consistently when it is followed, it's a question of time, you will evolve. You will exhaust the vasanas and achieve the spiritual good. So the way to overcome desire is S plus K underlined by C, circled by C. This is what Sri Krishna says. You follow this. If you consistently follow this, you will be blessed with the results, both materially and spiritually. He already said that in 31, no? If you don't do it, you will be doomed. Choice is yours. If you don't follow this law, you will only suffer. If you follow this law, you will only benefit. You make yourself, you mar yourself. Don't blame God if you mar yourself. And there is no meaning in thanking God if you evolve, because it's in your hands. It's law that is functioning. So you better abide by the law. This is all he explained in the 3rd chapter. Now, this is the summary of Karma Yoga. So where we start with yes, sadhana, self-control, disciplined lifestyle, and add knowledge every day. Early hours of the day, sattvic time between 4 and 6. Then get on to doing Karma Yoga, early to bed, early to rise, and do it according to your capacity. Give in to your entertainments and other things as long as they don't interfere in your life. Balance it out and then follow this consistently. Then it's just a question of time before we achieve liberation. Let's conclude now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.